There's only like, I believe, 1% of the population who are considered to be rich. But just because one is rich, does that mean that they are a man or a woman of God? Well, when we go to the scriptures, there were people, men and women of God who were born into money, and some who weren't. For an example, like Moses, he was born to either, his parents were either like what we would call in today's modern time, middle class, or either poor. Okay. But, once his mother put him in that basket and put him down the river, he was found by royalty, by the royal family. And so he grew up rich. Okay. But then you have someone like David, and all of his brothers, and they were like sheep herders. Okay, which I would guess that would make them maybe middle class or poor back in those days. So, and they were men of God. Okay, so we can't look at someone and say, oh, he or she don't look like they got no money, so they can't be men and women of God. Because that's not true, because we have to start, some of us were not born with a silver spoon in our mouths. Okay, so we had to start from the bottom. Now we're here. Some of us have to start from the bottom and work our way up to the top. And then everybody is not meant to be rich. Okay, it just, everybody is not. So, or wealthy. I mean, well, when it comes to the children of God, we are rich in spirit, but, and we are definitely not supposed to be the borrower, but the lender. But where everyone is not going to be rich as far as money wise. Okay. But all of us are definitely supposed to be wealthy. Okay. But there's you know what I mean? It doesn't just happen right off rip for most of us. We have to work our way up. So does that mean if you see a brother or a sister, once again, who doesn't seem to have as much as you have, or who doesn't seem to have a lot of money, does that mean that they're not a man or a woman of God? No, it doesn't. And on the flip side of that, just because you see a wealthy man or woman does not mean that they are a man or woman of God. They could very well be very evil and serve Satan. The scriptures say that, and I'm not trying to demonize anybody who's rich or anybody who's wealthy, but I'm just saying we cannot judge someone by those terms, by those conditions, and by their conditions. Because the scriptures do say that it's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to make it into heaven. So see, we can't judge someone off of what they look like, my brothers and sisters. Look at Joseph and how he had to go through prison and all of that. And then he became the ruler, the second ruler over Egypt. Okay. Some of us could be going through a Job season. Okay. Job he was like rich. Okay. But God allowed the devil to strip him down to nothing. Okay. And he was that was what the Lord allowed. And so some people could be very well going through their Job season. And there are some people out there who are judging that person, thinking that they are not a man or a woman of God, because at that moment in time, the conditions that they are in, they seem to be poor, or just not doing very well financially. Okay. And Job was very much so a man of God. He was actually rich at one point in time, and God allowed him to be stripped down to prove to Satan that he would still serve him. And then he got all of those riches back double. Okay? So, yeah, just to bring it back once again, we cannot judge someone because they look like they're rich, because they look like they're poor, because they have goals in their mouth, because they got tattoos, because they walk with a limp. Okay? I mean, we just cannot do that, my brothers and sisters. Because that very person that you are prejudging could very well so be a man or a woman of God. Can very much so be loved and favored by God. So, what does a man or a woman of God really look like? I'm going to tell you what they really look like. They look like the light. When you see a man or a woman of God, you will see light. We are the light of the world. And that light comes from Jesus, Yeshua, that he gave to us. So, what does a man or a woman of God really look like? They look like the light. And the characteristics that they would have would be, and they may also look happy, because the joy of the Lord is our strength. So they would look like light, and they also would look happy. Not that we're always happy. You know, we are human. We go through things. But for the majority of the time, most of us are happy because we are very thankful and grateful for what we do have. And we know where our help comes from. And we know that the joy of the Lord is our strength. So a man or a woman of God may very well so look happy. They will carry all of the fruits of the Spirit, of the Holy Spirit, my brothers and sisters. They will be humble. They will be respectful. They will be happy. They will be thankful, grateful. Okay? So I just threw a few of, the characteristics in there, because when you look at that, it coincides with the light. That's what I'm trying to get you to envision and understand. If you already don't, when I'm talking about it, when you see those characteristics in that person, it's the light. So I hope this helps someone, because it is not good for us to judge someone or prejudge someone based upon their looks alone. Because a person can very much so love God with every fiber of their being and be very much so chosen by the Most High Yah, and be walking around with spiky hair, gold teeth, tattoos, and maybe even be poor at the time. But that does not mean that they are not a man or a woman of God. The light is what a man or a woman of God looks like. And I hope this has helped someone. I hope that everyone who watches this video really sits back and thinks about what I said. The only look of a man or a woman of God is the light. And then you may very much so see happiness and joy. But the look is the light, my brothers and sisters. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I had to make a part 2 because I didn't have enough storage on my the first clip. So I went ahead and just made a part 2. So I love you all. This is your sister Fire. And until next time.